This conference will now be recorded.
Hi guys, this is Paul
Hi, Paul. Paul, what's your last name?
Campos, Campos.
Okay. And who are you with?
Lovington City Commission.
Oh, okay, great. I think they're still waiting for people to start the meeting, so
Okay,
we're not ready yet.
all right. Who am I speaking with?
This is Tina Reams, sorry, with Cherry C. Reams Architects.
Okay. Thank you.
James is on the phone too, or on the call, and so is Amy Bell. And then I see Evelyn Holguin, and then a
Okay.
city manager office and a city hall conference room. So I don't know who those people are.
Yeah, the conference hall and our conference room, city manager office, those are just some overflow rooms in case it got a little too crowded. There's nobody in there right now. They're just empty seats at this point.
Okay, thanks, James.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We are still waiting on one more member from the county committee. They're just running a little bit behind, but we can go ahead and get started. I guess it'd probably be just as appropriate. I know I have quorum with my body. We can go and start ours, and then when Mr. Beasley gets here, you guys can take care of your action items.
We don't have a whole lot really to go over.
Right. So, well, I suggest what we do is that we just go through our procedural stuff, and then we can start our action items, and then if Mr. Beasley gets here, we can press pause, let you guys do it, and continue on. Okay? Okay. All right. So, Commissioner Compost, did you want to still chair even though you're remote? I've only got Rachel and Gina physically present here, and I know Evelyn is on the line as well, but I didn't know if you wanted to try to run it from your side of the.
Sure, I can do that.
Okay.
We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order then.
I guess we can just call to order. I lost my little cheat sheet too. The board members. I guess we'll just start with a roll call of our body, because we are virtual. Okay, so we have a member Compost.
Yes.
Okay. Member Hutchins,
Yes.
member Gallagher,
Yes.
member Holguin,
Yes.
and then the record will reflect the remainder of Mr. Luna, Salcido, and Mr. Dela Cruz are all not attending at this time. So we can
Can
move
we
on.
go ahead and go through the actual order? Approving the agenda and the minutes and so forth?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So do we have a motion to approve the agenda as listed?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, I guess, revise our agenda somewhat to include an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, since that's not listed on our actual agenda.
All right. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I think you'd actually have to have a motion to amend the agenda and then do a second.
I make a motion.
Okay. Do we have a
All
second?
right. You have a motion by member Hutchins and then a second by
I second that motion.
member Gallagher. So,
All in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any
And there's-
opposed?
no, I don't see any opposed. So I guess we can start out with the pledge now, sir.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Zia Pledge. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the Zia symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Would anybody like to lead us in prayer?
I'll do it, sir. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful hot day. Thank you for letting us gather as a community, as a government, as individuals interested in honoring our veterans and serving our communities. Please continue to bless us. We would appreciate some rain. Thank you, and hopefully we can all, with your guidance, carry out your will and design something beautiful to honor our veterans. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Very good. Thank you, James. Now, do we have a motion to approve the agenda?
We already took care of that, sir. It would be the minutes of July 10th is the next action item.
Okay. Do we have a motion for that?
I make the motion to approve the minutes.
We do have a motion, sir, to approve.
I'll second.
And
We have a second.
yes, sir, by member Holguin.
All right. Any discussion from the members?
No, sir.
Hearing no discussion. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? James, question for you.
Yes, sir.
Do we still need to proceed with a roll call on these voting items?
So I would think in this, not for something like this. I actually had a meeting the other day with the COG and a counselor from the city of Roswell said they had an opinion from the AG saying that basically they could, motions could be approved by consent, with consent being silence. We just merely ask for any opposition and then they would voice their vote. But I think for these routine items, it's more of a consent agenda type item anyway. But for any other action items, I would definitely recommend roll call since we don't have everybody physically present.
Okay, very good. Thank you, James. So we'll go on into non-action items, James.
Yes, sir. The non-action item is the discussion and presentation by Tina and Amy of Cherry C. Reams of the conceptual designs. So I will turn that over to you all.
Okay, thank you, James. This is Tina Reams with Cherry C. Reams Architects. And Amy, you want to say, Amy?
Hello, everyone. I'm Amy Bell with Groundwork Studio.
Hello.
Great. And I guess you said roll call, is that, do we have any committee members from the Veterans Memorial Project here as
Yes.
well?
Yes, ma'am, we have Dean Jackson. He's one of our county commissioners for District 1, represents all of them. We have David Mittens, I'm sorry.
Okay.
He's the co-chair, and then we also have Charlie. Yes. So we don't have anybody else from the county right now. They should be on their way, but when they get here, we'll make sure we call them out for you.
Okay, terrific, great. Well, thank you. So what we want to do, the goal, I guess, for this meeting is to present our developed schemes, and then I'll hopefully get some, determine which ideas we want to move forward with. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see it. Let's see now. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. So before diving into the proposed design concepts and layouts, we'd like to provide a little background on the themes we selected to both organize the space and convey important historical messages. Oops, hang on. I need to get it to the, oops, there we go. Okay. As we went through the historical information provided by the committee and the Lee County Museum, two strong spatial themes became clear. The first on the left is the airstrip. The Hobbs Army Airfield is a historical site in Lee County and was operated during World War II. It held training for bombardier students and of the 4-engine pilots in B-17 bombers. Post-war, the Army Air Force decided to assign the base for use as an aircraft storage facility. In 1948, the base was closed and the Air Force declared the Hobbs Army Airfield as surplus. It wasn't until the 1950s that the city of Hobbs began to rehabilitate portions of the base, building a 9-hole golf course at first, and then later into a recreation area and industrial park. We visited the old airfield and found a beautiful public park with a wide assortment of recreational things to do, from golf to frisbee to a shooting range. The airstrip was fenced off to the public, but its expanse could still be viewed. When looking at old photographs and aerial views of the base, we mentioned this in a previous meeting. What if the airfield could be remembered in some way at the Lee County Veterans Memorial Park, and the stories associated with it could be told? So that's one concept. The other is the target, which is the one on the right. This inspiration for the theme sprung from the original map that the committee shared with us of Lee County and all the bomb sites located across Lee County. We wondered if, in addition to providing the map on a plaque on a wall, that perhaps the actual concentric circles could be something. The target idea reflects the bombardier training taking place at Hobbs Army Airfield, which was an important part of the history of Lee County. This theme was also inspired by the wonderful story of Ellis Byers, whom we read about in the Lee County Museum. The exhibit told the heartwarming story of how Ellis would fly over his family's house, the target, in Lovington, and drop a makeshift parachute constructed out of a handkerchief and an ammunition shell with a rolled paper note inside. It would tell his family to meet him in Hobbs at the airfield if they wanted to go for a ride. And I thought that was just pretty cool. Okay, next.
So we pulled several proposed design elements from compelling images that we found in the historical archives. From the top left, going clockwise, the grid from the airfield, for example, could serve as an organizing element for a memorial garden. The next image to the right, which is really cool, shows runners on a training structure or a banked wall that was our inspiration for creating an interactive and educational landscape feature. We talked a lot previously about how to engage youth, and this seemed like a fun way to do that safely. The next is another iteration of the grid that shows more defined buildings placed systematically within the larger grid. And we've imagined those buildings as individual memorials or raised planters with rose beds within a gridded walking path within the designs that we'll share in a minute. Finally, at the bottom left and middle, we see the underground magazine igloo photo and floor plan. So placing the restrooms and storage buildings within a proposed berm or small hill is an opportunity to help visitors experience the types of structure that would have been found at the airfield. So we also found several examples of this white caliche stone used both in the landscape to line the paths at Hobbs Army Airfield and in walls and in buildings of ranches and farms across Lee County. It's our understanding that this is still a material that is readily available locally. We think it will be an excellent material for individual memorials in the Memorial Garden. We also read quite a bit about Colonel William Shafter and his documentation of Monument Spring on the Hat Ranch. We see here at the right an idea of what the monument at the spring might have looked like, and it might be possible to recreate the monument as part of the memorial park. The spring was important to travelers as it provided much needed water, and so the spring could also be an inspiration for a water feature at the park.
This slide shows two examples of different kinds of memorials or monuments. So starting from clockwise from the upper right corner shows the Korean War stone monument and the Vietnam bronze sculpture just below it in the lower right. These are at the New Mexico Veterans Memorial Park in Albuquerque. And then in the middle bottom, there's a stone plaque option that's at the Botanical Garden, but that's an idea of a memorial. And then to the left, bottom left, that's the previous memorial wall at the Lee County Courthouse. And we found that picture at the museum. And then upper left and middle are individual dog tags or just little medallions dangling from a stainless steel mesh, and they're used as memorials or donor acknowledgements at the new penguin exhibit at the Albuquerque Biopark Zoo. But we could see this as something that could possibly be done at the Veterans Memorial. And then these are colonnade examples in Lubbock and Santa Fe, and they define spaces that work well with a flag court. A colonnade can also be a striking backdrop for presentations and gatherings at an entry or a focal point. At our previous meeting, we discussed the opportunity to work with a local artist and create simple yet meaningful sculptures, possibly with steel cutouts or other media. And I had the pleasure of going down to, well, I met Charles Fort. He's an artist and sculptor and rancher from Tatum. And I met him when I visited Jim Harris at the Lee County Museum. And so he has some ideas I'm sure too. These sculptures could portray military equipment, such as the bomber plane. That's what we went to go see in Hobbs at the Army Airfield. The bomber planes, military personnel, as well as other members of the community that support all branches of the military and veterans. And then perhaps maybe the story could be told of the Lee County people. Got some feedback there. Story could be told of the Lee County people like they did in the Keep 'em Flying, the Story of Hobbs Army Airfield book that we read. I still have a bunch of the books that I borrowed from Lee County Museum. But here's one of them. It's among the civilian employees at Hobbs was a group of 20 female aircraft mechanics who arrived from Duncan Field in San Antonio in December 1942 to work at the Airfield Sub Depot. These employees had been some of the first local residents to be selected by the Army Air Forces for specialized training even before base construction got underway. They included Mrs. Anna Christmas, who trained as a propeller mechanic. Before the war, she'd been a practical nurse and had 4 grandchildren at the time, and she went to work on the base. When asked why she went through all the effort to be retrained, she replied that she had always been fascinated by machinery and wanted to make a contribution to winning the war. Mrs. Naomi L. Hogue was the circulation manager for the Hobbs Daily News, Sun, when she left for Texas and came back as a mechanic. And Mrs. Lila Herman went to training to learn landing gear repair and how to install wires and cables on the aircraft and engine installation. She returned to Hobbs to join her husband, who worked on base as a propeller mechanic. So there's lots of stories like that that would be amazing to be told in the Lee County Memorial.
So we understand the importance of shade in New Mexico, and particularly in Lee County. And I understand we've had a hot couple of weeks down there. So these are some examples of possible shade structures over gathering areas. The top left is a picture of the New Mexico Veterans Memorial Amphitheater that Cherry C. Reams worked on, where they took into consideration the view of the Sandia Mountains, as well as shade for Memorial Day ceremonies. The structure allows shade over the amphitheater while also keeping views open to the sky for the ceremonial flyovers by the Kirtland Air Force Base pilots. So a really neat combination of shade with visibility. And here on the upper right-hand side, we also have an example of a reflecting pool. So as we remember from investigating the Veterans Memorial in Farmington, the landscape plays a really important role in creating comfortable and aesthetically attractive space. We also learned from the New Mexico Veterans Memorial in Albuquerque that elements like plant colors, so red, white, and blue, for example, and names such as the peace rose, can further support the educational message of the park. This slide shows different options of planters, both raised and ground level, that, well, the raised ones can serve as benches and flush at ground level for ease of maintenance, and pleasant pathways with benches under the trees for shade. And next we have a preliminary selection of trees and shrubs adapted to the southeastern New Mexico climate. These trees and shrubs will provide all season color, red, white, and blue if desired, and textures. So these plants have relatively low water requirements and minimal maintenance needs, with the exception of the special variety roses. Those will need some special care. The trees will provide shade and windbreak, as well as spring and fall color, and a screen to some of the adjacent properties with industrial uses.
This slide brings together several of the elements that we discussed, and we hope you can start to get a feeling for how they might all work together in the park. So starting upper left, looking at the caliche memorial stones, or limestone memorial stones, and then maybe rose trellises, benches and coffee tables, then memorial bricks on the second row, lining pathways, maybe some etched granite, flag court ideas, the igloo as the restrooms and storage. It's something that's built into the ground, but could still be, it's something that was used at the Hobbs Army Airfield. And then Noveloy plaques, that's a good material for New Mexico sun. It holds up well to that, and as well as easy to clean off, at least Sharpie marker if you get that kind of graffiti or paint. That comes off pretty easily. Hopefully people wouldn't vandalize it, but it is cleanable. Let's see, and then bronze sculptures or steel cutout sculptures. And then we also got the memorial wall that's down there, that was down there at the court. So this slide shows the Hobbs Army Airfield or airstrip shape, scaled to fit on the Lee County Veterans Memorial Park site. And you can see how it fits in, and it's basically right across from the courthouse. So it's East Central Avenue, South Eddy Street on the right, East Avenue A on the south side or the bottom, and Southeast Street on the left. And the museum covered stage or museum site is just to your left too. So this connects important access points and creates an opportunity for a looped history walk. It allows for direct paths to focal points within the park. And this diagram shows how the airfield runways could work as concept and fit as a layout in the park space. We can see that the airstrip concept works well and connects to key access points in the northwest and northeast corners, where people would be coming from East Central Avenue. And we can see that the airstrip concept access points, sorry, I said that, as well as to the stage at the museum if this is desired in the future. So the tie together, I think. Can you see my arrow or my little hand there? So here's northeast corner and northeast corner, northwest. And then the other concept, the target shape of concentric circles, allows for more organic shapes within the park with focal points hidden from view. So as we see the concentric circles, focal points are hidden from view because you'd have to walk different ways. This layout references an important historical feature of the military experience in Lee County, the bombardiers training or the bomb sites that are sprinkled across the county. This diagram shows how the target concept could fit in the layout on the Lee County Veterans Memorial Park space. The target concept creates a very strong background to the axis running southeast from this corner, southeast to the northwest corner. And then where most people will first see and approach the park, that's over here. The concentric circles could potentially be continued outside the park within the landscape of the adjacent museum complex or the courthouse grounds if so desired. So now here's our actual airstrip layout with the ideas planted. So the concept, as you enter the park from the northwest corner on Central Avenue and Southeast Street, that corner, you are drawn in by the colonnade and the garrison flag on the berm over the amphitheater or stage area to the southeast corner.
The US, New Mexico, and POW MIA flags and steel cutout sculptures on the berm provide a dynamic backdrop and screen from the neighboring industrial area on Avenue A and Eddy Street.
As you travel southeast from the colonnade along the tree-lined path, there are many opportunities for memorial statues and/or plaques. And when you look to your left, you see the memorial stones in Rose Garden right here. Can you see my little hand showing that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I can't tell if you can see it or not. Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I think that's helpful to point out the areas that we're talking about. So this area, the Memorial Stones, Rose Garden, allows for individuals to remember their loved ones through the purchase of a plaque installed on a caliche stone.
Okay, so if you walk south from the colonnade, so here's the colonnade, and we're walking south from the colonnade, the path includes banked walls along these little areas and berms with 5 small spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, for the 5 branches of service.
So you have the option to experience the banked walls, and this was the sort of an idea that came from that image that we saw of the men running on the banked walls. You have the option to experience them yourself. It's not just in a picture, it's an actual experience that's out there.
Then you arrive at the coffee talk area, a shaded small gathering space with tables and chairs at the intersection of the pathways in the southwest corner of the park. So right here.
And the restroom and storage building is conveniently located nearby, nestled into the berm, referencing the underground magazine Igloo.
The open triangular areas, so the grass areas here, triangular areas, leave room for other monuments should that be needed in the future.
And the raised berms around the edge of the site, not only provide that sort of stage for the artwork potentially, but they also protect the site from the drainage on Eddy Street. They create a windbreak, and they provide a feeling of peace and enclosure.
The option provides clear visual access to the main gathering area across a strong axis from the entry or the coffee talks area. So this would be the main gathering area right here. So it's right across from the coffee talks, and it's right in axis with the colonnade entry pathway. Okay, so that's the one idea. The other idea is the target concept. And this, let's see, the location of the large US flag makes a strong statement right in the northwest corner entry.
We thought that this also was a really prime opportunity to reinstate the previous Lovington Memorial Wall.
Yep, it could be right here.
Mm-hmm.
As you travel to the east, so you walk around the paths and travel to the east, you come upon the coffee talk area, nestled within trees and landscaping.
And the restrooms are located just to the south in the underground igloo. So similar theme here, but different location.
Mm-hmm. As you travel further south, you arrive at the main gathering space, or this time we show a reflecting pool too.
On top of the berm to the southeast, the 8 flags can be seen, one for each branch of service, as well as the New Mexico state flag, POW/MIA flag, and the United States flag.
The 5 branches of service can also be represented on the outer edge to the northwest as you arrive at the memorial stones and rose garden that are further out here, again in the concentric circles, with a backdrop of steel cutout sculptures telling the story of Lee County veterans.
So this option separates the storage building from the restrooms and places it at the southern side of the site. So while the previous option combined the 2 functions into one building, this one shows what it could look like if we wanted to separate them.
And this option creates a more private space in the middle of the park for reflection and storytelling. So that this whole presentation was posted on the website as a virtual presentation, and James was nice enough to narrate it. We hope you found the notes helpful in describing our inspirations and design, and these concepts both have several elements that are interchangeable. So for example, we could incorporate the reflecting pool in the airstrip concept, or we could also incorporate the banked walls into the target concept. So we need your feedback now. That's what we're hoping to get. See what you like, what you didn't like, or just tell us what you think. So I don't know how we want to do this. We'll go back maybe just to the airstrip one and discuss, I guess. Do we want to unmute people? Do I have to do that? Let's see.
I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
I missed it, I guess, on the airstrip diagram. Where are the bathrooms located in that one?
In the airstrip, the bathrooms are located here. And this would be
Okay,
bathrooms and storage, possibly. And it's right by the coffee talk area.
That's probably a good idea, huh?
Maybe.
Let me ask you this. Are there any designs for drinking fountains in any of these?
They could be, yeah, they could be located near the restroom, since that's where plumbing would happen if we had a, and I think because you can have outdoor drinking fountains, we could have it wherever like the public places would be, like the gathering space over here by the colonnade, or maybe by the here. We could figure out some nice places for drinking fountains.
Okay. I'll open up the floor for any questions or discussions.
I don't understand anything anybody's saying.
Oh my gosh. So, all right. So what this, the 2 concepts that came with all of the stuff that I know you had compiled and county staff, as far as the the history, military history throughout Lee County. What they did was they took all of that information and they found two concepts that make Lee County stand out. And you know, it deals with our Air Force, or Army Air Force base that we had there. This first concept, I don't know, sure. And they also, everything that they said, I provided you a written transcript for, so you can go back through and look. So this one, you know what,
Sorry.
Tina, I'm going to switch this for us here. I have
Yeah.
a bigger one here. You won't necessarily be able to see it on your end.
Stop sharing.
All right. So this represents the layout of the airfield.
Right.
So main entrance here, you would have some colonnades here. Then you would naturally come down here. This is actually a raised berm. So it eliminates that industrial area along Avenue A, and it's just a natural feature. Whenever they're saying, you know, like restrooms and storage in this particular concept, it's built into the berm kind of to represent the igloo / bunkers that we had. So it's there, but it's not like there. I mean, you look at it and not realize that it was necessarily a restroom.
Right.
And then the gathering area or coffee area, they would have this area here would represent each one of the 5 branches of service. And they would look very similar if you go back right here. I can't remember the name of those that they were running on, but they would look very similar to that. And then, of course, you've got kind of a gathering area here with American flag. You'd also have your POW New Mexico flag. Trees, greenery, a rose garden, memorial stones, plenty of open space for other features to commemorate different things.
Okay.
So, and of course, you know, this side here, a new judicial complex here. So, and then it would naturally tie into the layout to this area over here where the Lee County Museum is, to where you could utilize the pavilion for more events, that would naturally occur down here. But this area here could be used for storytelling, kind of like what they said, you know, veterans come down there, put on a presentation about their service. I know I already have a favorite, and it's not this one. This one to me, and this is my own personal opinion, this one to me is just kind of like, I can actually envision this one. This one I like. I don't know. I like it a lot better. You know, we're talking about the bombing range, the concentric circles, the overlapping circles, and it forces you to go. What I like about it is, force is not a good word, but it does. It forces you to follow a path. So what I envision is you could start on one area, and it takes you through every part of the park, and you can tell the story of Lee County, starting out with the Buffalo Soldiers all the way up to our current war now on the other side. This area, you know, lots of green space. It would be beautiful. We've got multiple locations, of course, a very large American flag, which just draws your attention to the area. The existing memorial wall would be incorporated here in this particular area. If the county so chose to move it from its existing site off of Main Street, this would be a good place. We could also have a memorial wall here for additional names for individuals. You come around here, this would be kind of like the coffee area that we had talked about. This would be a raised berm concept again, except in this particular case, restrooms and storage would be separate, but it would be the igloo bunker style, aesthetically pleasing look. And then you would have a reflecting pool. But, you know, and I didn't even think about it whenever I first saw these, whenever they emailed them out, but she even mentioned it. I could see that in the middle of the reflecting pool.
And
Something very prominent.
What is that? What is that?
Monument Spring.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. But those are pretty much the two concepts that they came up with, just to start our conversation so we can kind of.
My first thought on the reflecting pool was, we have so much water in this cabin.
So, but if you think about it, so Chaparral Park, the entrance to Chaparral Park, that's just a recirculating pump. That's not a freshwater spring. So used to, if you, and I'm sure you remember that, you've been around Lovington longer than I have, but that actually came off of our drinking water tanks next to the park, bubbled up through that, and then followed that lazy stream that went down into the lake. Well, because of geological changes and stuff, the water just disappears. But what we did was we sealed it off, and all we have to do is go replenish the supply. It uses less than 100 gallons to fill that thing up. So that reflecting pool, we're not talking a deep pond, we're talking, I don't know, Tina, how deep is normally like a reflecting pool? Just a couple of inches?
Oh, yeah, it can just be a couple of inches to 6 inches. It's however deep you want to make it.
It's not a fishing hole.
What was that?
I said it's not a fishing hole, but just,
No.
something small just to break it up. But no, I agree. We don't have a lot of water here, but it's a nice feature, or that could actually be replaced with if you guys didn't, the group didn't like the water feature, it could be replaced with something else as a focal point. Whereas on the previous one, back on the airstrip, we have this large concrete area here for the storytelling. It could easily go right here for a center stage, for a focus of attention. But
And where did some of the monuments be that would show Lee County losses,
throughout,
base losses?
no, excellent question, sir. In this particular design, we've got lots of open space all the way around it. This is just the concept as far as, this isn't going to say that Buffalo Soldier's going here. We have lots of room
To
here.
choose from and do it.
Correct. And even with this one, we have lots of room to where we could put those around to encourage people. It's not just, it's, and don't take this the long way. It's not a circus attraction, but this would be an experience. Experience our history. And, just kind of, I can see something that's just guided to where when you go there, you're going to learn something. And not just on your first visit, you're still going to learn something, whether it's your 5th visit all the way down to your 50th visit.
My question is on this one, there's a lot of dead space unless that's a walking path around on that bottom corner. After the berm,
Over here,
that's a lot of dead space, that whereas on the other kind, you don't have that. You seem to be using more of your land unless you're creating a walking path. And I don't know if that's what
there's sidewalk. That is sidewalk.
Okay.
Curb and side. I'm sorry, Tina, I can't really share. You know what? Let me share my screen so I can move the mouse and we can see you
Okay,
guys.
hang on, let me stop sharing.
I think we can about that spaces later on, maybe we can add some picnic tables and so that people can sit outside and eat. And
But you're still secluding it, like you're separating it, like you're keeping that.
Yeah. What they're talking about, Tina, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but this area.
No, I can't see your screen yet.
A lot
How
of
do
dead.
Do we have to share, do I have to give you back control, or how do we share your screen?
Are you able to see my screen?
No.
Oh, okay, hold on, I forgot to hit share, sorry.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
there we
can see
go.
it.
So
Good.
what they're talking about is this area here on the concentric was, is there some way to reorient? Because it's a lot of it's open space, but it is kind of excluded from the rest of the memorial. You'd have a berm there where all you could really see would be the flags.
Right. Yeah, that could be other parking, or it could be more picnic. We can actually probably have some paths cut through so that could come around. So the berm could be not completely blocking that area, you could actually have a little path that comes through there, so to access that area. It could, yeah, we could look at that.
I know it had been brought up in previous meetings about, what about some of the static displays that are along the equipment displays? That would be a good spot where it's not so in an area that would be more of the peaceful reflection.
True.
That could be a potential space for something like that.
Definitely.
And Terry, this is Rachel Gallagher speaking. I think the concentric circles do offer kind of a stronger design overall. But I really like the history of and the layout of the airfield. Is there any way to combine that in that more empty corner, so to speak? So we can still have a smaller version of it with maybe some other memorial type items on it, but it's that airfield shape in that corner. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah, trying to find a way to incorporate the airfield idea there too. Because I mean, it is a whole city block. All we'd have to do is scale it down and just show how big it needs to be. There could be areas within the memorial areas that we're showing in the middle, that an area of that could become the airstrip or something. I mean, we could, or up in the upper right-hand corner, that could become the airstrip. I mean, there's different areas. We could just scale it down quite a bit and do it.
Yeah, it just makes I feel like I know that the bombing circles are obviously very important to our overall war history, but that they couldn't be carried without those planes and teaching those pilots how to get it into the air and land too. So I just feel like that is just so much, it's got a lot more strength to the story. And if we can combine them both, and especially politically, it could work really well.
Yes, I think so. We can look at that. Because that's what we want to know is which ideas did you like and what do you want us to, because maybe we do merge them. And so that's the idea. Okay.
I like the idea of the pool with the monument. That actually sounds really cool, and I had no idea about any of that. I feel like that's something that, again, one of those moments when you're like, this is so cool and interesting about Lake County.
And it's so simple.
Mm-hmm.
It's simple, but I mean, I can envision something just.
Lynchy rocks grow around here, wow.
I didn't hear that. I couldn't hear it.
They just keep coming up.
They do. It's crazy. Something in the lack of water. Any other thoughts that you guys have?
I like this one there too. I like the idea of maybe somehow merging.
Yeah, I do. It's just, that's what we have Amy and Tina for, how to figure out how to incorporate that.
Yeah, we felt they were both pretty strong concepts and we really liked both of them. So you didn't hurt our feelings at all which one you picked. So yeah, and then liking them both is great. So we can work something out.
Are there other features that are in the airstrip that you'd like to see in the target one? Like, for example, the banked walls, because we could easily include those. Help me out, Tina. Are there other things that we showed here that aren't in the other one, or is that it?
We have the more of a colonnade, I think. Did they want a colonnade?
Yeah, that.
Right.
This here,
And that would be,
the columns. You like the airstrip one?
I like the airstrip, They're both nice, don't get me wrong, but the airstrip just seems to have structure. If that's the right word.
No, yeah.
That's great for safety.
That's great.
It does. I mean, someone who can't handle the curves and all of that, that provides a security thing. You can get to where you need to be in multiple ways versus feeling like you have to go the long way to get to where you need to get out. I mean, I like I really do like that, Mark, even if you could take the bombing site one and put it in the corner of where we have the cheerleading, like here. Like if you put the bombing thing in that corner, kind of came off with that design in that direction into it, you'd still have that aspect, but I think by having just the one-wayness, you're gonna create, people having an insecurity. It doesn't provide the comfort knowing that I have to get out multiple ways here, whereas this one doesn't feel like I can. Like once I'm in that round part, I'm stuck on the.
Kind of a Hotel California.
Yeah,
And the monuments, I'm assuming is what those are, just off center, upper left, yeah, right in here. And of course, not many people are gonna get an aerial view, but the way those are, and if we had others make similar, they kind of resemble the barracks and the buildings that were on the base.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that was the idea. And those were like raised planters for roses or whatever you wanted to put in them.
Hey, James
Yes, sir.
and Tina, let me ask you this. I know this is a design or a replica of the airfield, but in looking at it, it doesn't seem like people would have, and we're talking about people exploring and really seeing and learning everything they can from this view or this rendition. But they can't walk around that inner square all the way around in this design, correct?
Correct. Yeah, it's all around the perimeter basically. I mean, they could, it's grass or gravel or whatever we decide to put on the ground. They could still walk across it. They don't have to follow the paths. I know that's kind of the ideal thing, but a lot of times, you know, people will walk wherever they need to go and they'll create their own. So, yeah.
Well, maybe we might look at making it walkable all the way around, and then they could still walk to whatever area they could after that.
Right.
Just a thought. Thank you.
Okay.
And as far as features go, I definitely like the colonnades. I think those are very striking. So I think that's a good design element to make sure. I don't think you said it wasn't. Is it in the concentric one as well, the colonnade?
The colonnade's not shown in the concentric one. I believe it was just the large flagpole and then a curved wall that could be installed. We didn't show a colonnade. And then this one also has a stage, a raised stage or lowered stage basically, but that, like you said, could also take the place of the reflecting pool or whatever.
I really like the pool. I think it also changes the feeling of like temperature wise, because that's one of the things that really lacks at Grand Avenue, because there's no, it's just congested, it's so hot in there.
I agree. I was gonna say the same thing about some type of water feature. I think it just also makes you feel a little cooler when you see something. But it is really, they're pretty. It really does reflect the skyline, and it's just another
Really cool.
Mm-hmm.
I also like the incorporation of the, those, where you, the part where the kid kind of run on the ramp based off of that photo from the training, which I don't know what we call those, running ramps or sideways running ramps. I like that element, and I would love to see children using that space that way as well. And I'm sure that could be built into the other design as well somehow.
Right, it could be, yes.
Do folks have thoughts or preference regarding combining the restrooms in the storage building or separating them?
I actually have no problem. I think combining them would actually be better. Because that just leaves us with more open space. I mean, granted, they're incorporated into the berm, but I think it's just more open, undisturbed space that we need to where we can put other things there instead of having to work around two separate structures. So I kind of like the combination concept.
I agree. I think they're good to combine.
That sounds good too, James.
That'll be less expensive too, I think, having one structure. Can you flip to the concentric circle, the target one, please? Yeah. So basically the storage and restrooms would probably be combined closer to the coffee talk area is what I'm thinking. It would be up there to the right.
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, Tina, but one thing I did notice about this that I thought was stronger in the Airstrip one was if we are going to put the coffee talk area as a place where veterans will hang out, it might be better to put it in the southwestern corner so it's closer to ADA parking.
Oh, yes, parking, you're right.
Yeah.
And I think we could still get the same similar sort of secluded landscaped area in that corner. Mm-hmm.
I did like how you reinstated the Lovington Memorial too, but that's just from growing up here and having always seen that growing up. That's just a memory that I have. So it's just stuff my kid would never have it. He would have no clue.
Yeah, I don't ever remember that at all. That would be cool to have that. I like that idea.
So do you think you can combine both concepts?
What was that?
Now, my question was, it kind of seems like we want to combine the airstrip and these circles.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. We'll go back to the drawing board and try to do that.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure you guys will hit the target.
Nice. I actually loved listening to you present it, James. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, we actually have this present, whenever they emailed it out, I know that we just put together a little video. It's actually on the city's webpage on our Parks and Rec, and you just click on the Veterans Memorial link, so we can kind of get some feedback, but I know that we're going to leave it up there for now, as is. It's identical to this, what they covered today, but definitely that way we can get the word out and get feedback to those who can't listen. I know this particular meeting will be on YouTube by tomorrow on the city's YouTube page, so that way we can hopefully get some more public input as well.
And it's under our Parks and Recreation.
The original video presentation that we did, it's at lovington.org. And if you go to the city's webpage or the city department links, click on the Parks and Rec link, and you'll actually see it. And then it also has copies of this you can download, as well as the script,
Okay.
in case you can't understand the hick who was talking on the video. But it was me, so I can say that. But no, I think that's kind of a direction, because I know we can't really take any formal action since y'all don't have quorum, and I guess we can maybe just Commissioner Compost kind of maybe give them direction. If you guys, the consensus is, let's try to see what we can come up with combining both designs.
James.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think I'm on board with the combination, but I think we probably need to give the architects some ideas of what we do like and some ideas of what we're not really high on, so that way they have a better idea of how to move forward with the one design. Would you agree?
Oh, yes, sir. I was actually going to suggest that we each come up and you can either email them directly to Tina or email them to Elisa, or just get them to us, and then I can send them list what you like and what you don't like about each design. And then
Fantastic.
That'd
the
be
best
great.
of both worlds and combine them and do it from that.
Okay, very good.
I think that would be a good homework assignment for us all. But I know moving forward, and I don't know how long it would take for Tina and Amy to do this, but I know we would need to reconvene So we could come up with a recommendation from both boards, so that way, per our agreement with the city and the county's agreement is that prior to even finalizing the concepts, both the county commission and the city commission either give the official thumbs up on it. So that it is one of those things that if we want to start moving forward, we will need to make sure we do our homework so that Mike and I can present it to both of our boards as well. So did Tina, did you have any, or Amy, did you have any other comments to add to that?
No, I think that covered a lot. If we could get definite feedback, like you said, emails, something that we can consolidate as far as what we like, what we didn't like, because coming up with the merged design, basically, we'll probably have to have one more, maybe another presentation after that, just to make sure we got it right.
Sure.
Before we finalize it. So it may be an additional meeting, but it may take us a little while to do this too. So I'll get back to you on that.
Sure.
Yeah, and maybe, it'd be helpful too, as you guys are thinking about, putting together those emails with what you like or you don't like. For the stuff that you like, if there's a way to prioritize that for us, to say like, I really like this part, and we can't have this Veterans Memorial Park without this. I kind of like this other thing, but it's not critical, or it could be like a later phase, or, just so that we have a good understanding of what is really important, so we make sure, because I think we can probably include most things, if not everything, but where it's located, the prominence of where it's located. There are some trade-offs where there might be a great space for a colonnade and or the existing or the relocation of the memorial wall. Maybe we can do both, but that would be helpful for us too, if that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think the next steps, once we do get a master plan design of this, the next steps would be trying to figure out what the phasing would be. And that's where priorities will come in play too. What is the most important thing, and go from there. So.
Anybody else?
Any other discussion?
But Commissioner Campos, I know that, after public comment, we had action items, but I don't think that we would need to take any action at this point.
Okay.
I do have some updates I'd like to share with folks as far as the overall on the project. Whenever you're ready for that.
Should we open up public comment first, or you want to go ahead and proceed with your information?
Everybody in here shaking their head no. We're fine, and we don't have any public that I can tell watching either.
Okay, all right, go ahead and proceed, Dave.
So I know that with the state's budget situation, we were really concerned because they froze all of the capital outlay from 2019 and also the 2020 session. The area of concern with that was that we still had $542,000 in grant funding for this project. It was frozen. Good news is they unfroze it. So we again have access to that funding for this. In addition to that, this past legislative session, they did award us $200,000 in capital outlay towards this project. However, we don't have access to that funding yet because it's severance tax bond funded, and they have not sold. This project was not sold in the June sale. The next sale that they'll have is in October. And that's only a lot of that depends on the state's credit rating at that point. So I'm not really counting on it until I have the agreement in our hands. But that being said, we still have one piece of property that we were waiting on acquisition of, and that's the old little Bell Bondsperson site. It is in a quiet title suit right now. And with everything going on, it's kind of delayed things. I actually have a call to our real estate agent next week. Originally, we were supposed to be able to set a closing date on June 4th, but everything got delayed. So or July 6th, I'm sorry. So I'm going to call him to find out. Usually those take about 60 days. Once we acquire that, the plan moving forward is we will have to go in and get some of the remaining structures. The reason they're still up is they have asbestos in them. But we just, to save on mobilization fees and stuff, we still need to get that one bail bonds person place tested. Once that happens, we'll go in and abate the asbestos. It's in the floor tile. And then we will start with removal of the structures that are there. Mainly to get the area cleaned up and also work with New Mexico Gas to delete the electrical that runs through there and the county electric. We are going to be working with the New Mexico National Guard unit out here. They are a construction battalion. And Mayor Trujillo has said that they're very interested in doing some training so we can get the site cleaned up, leveled. At least we have a nice green space, so that way, my goal is to have this ready by November, so that way when we're able to occupy the 4th floor of the new complex, you won't look out and see what's there right now. So we'd actually have some green space out there, but once we do have the final design concept, of course, then we get into the nitty gritty of the phasing and figuring out the final engineering components and stuff like that. But that's my update on that. Hopefully we'll be moving forward with it soon, within the next 30 days or so, so we can actually have a little bit of progress over there.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, very good. Thank you, James. So moving on, I'd still like to open it up for public comment, just to have it on record that we did open it up. Anybody wish to make a comment at this time from the public? All right. Apparently there's nobody wishing to make comments. Anything else, James, that we can proceed on?
No, sir, that was it for this meeting that we have.
All right. Do the members have anything else they want to ask or any other comments they want to make? Hearing as there are none. Tina and Amy, is that correct, Amy?
Yeah.
I'm Paul. Good to meet y'all. If there's
Thank you,
nothing else, then good seeing y'all. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Make that motion.
Jack has fun.
Who made that, Jay?
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.